Good afternoon, everyone. Well, almost. I'm a couple of seconds early, but wanted to get right in today. Just want to say hi. It's Monday. It is the 8th of August, and boy, does it feel like the dog days of summer. I don't know if you're feeling the heat, but I certainly am. And well, I don't know, what can I say about our real estate market at the moment? Well, I thought I would wear my interesting jewelry here. This is a necklace and earrings that I got in Italy. If anybody has been fortunate enough to go to the Amalfi Coast, you know that coastline is quite interesting to travel on. And that's what I feel the real estate market is doing at the moment. There's highs, there's lows, there's twists and turns that nobody anticipates. And boy, is it something that we're watching on a daily basis. So let's get right at it. I'm Jennifer Tim. I am with the Welcome Home Global Group. We are a real estate team in Southern California. I'm also licensed in Austin, Texas, and I'm absolutely passionate about making sure you have all the right information to make the right decision for you and your family when it comes to real estate. And a lot of it is just trying to interpret what is going on. I am a data geek. I absolutely love this stuff. And I love sharing with you what is going on and what it truly means for you, whether you're a buyer, seller, or a homeowner. So let's get to it. As always, our two questions. So if I'm a buyer, will I have to offer way over list price, and will I have to waive all the contingencies? We're going to kind of have a look at where the market is and perhaps answer that question, maybe not the way you would anticipate. And our second question is, I'm a seller and want to add a cushion to my list price. Is this a good idea? So this is when sellers, the market is dictating, for an example, a $1 million price point, and the sellers are asking, well, I kind of want to just put it at 1.1 because I know the buyers are going to come in and offer less. So is that a good idea or not? And we'll get to that at the end. Okay, so as always, our numbers that drive you is real estate. You know them all by now. Conversation that we're still having, it's inventory and interest rates. Inventory and interest rates, it's all about that and how that relates to the affordability. So what's been going on nationally? Well, this is where the roller coaster begins. So strap on in, let's have a conversation. So these are all articles that I pulled over the weekend and this morning, and we're just going to look at some of the experts out there to see what they think is happening. So our very first one from Realtor Magazine, and the headline is Yoon, and he is the economist for National Association of Realtors, and he said the possible economic downturn is likely to be mild. We know that the media, the reality is that recession is that big thing that everyone's talking about. Either you're in the school that says we're already in a recession, or you're in the other school that says, well, maybe, but maybe not. So I am not going to debate that issue right now, but I am going to share with you what the experts are saying, regardless of whether we're in a recession or not. So Mr. Yoon says a contracting economy typically means a recession, but other economic indicators are likely to mitigate the effects of the slowing economy. So specifically for housing, let's share some of, and of course my Zoom window is right in the way. So one of the positives, and there are a lot of positives in what I'm going to share with you today, was from that article in Realtor Magazine, and new guidance from the Treasury enabling state and local governments to use leftover emergency COVID-19 funding from the American Rescue Plan to create affordable housing should help ease the inventory crisis and counteract the effects of a tightening economy. As you guys know, we've shared this over the weeks. Inventory, inventory, inventory. Oh my gosh, where are all these houses that our buyers need? That is a huge driver in what's happening right now. So if we can get more inventory, then we're going to be able to get back to that B&B market, balanced and boring, which is what one of the economists for Housing Wire, Logan Mohtashami, he's got this really nice last name, and I always have to visualize it to be able to pronounce his name. That's what he says. We're looking for that boring, balanced market, and that's all about the inventory. Two factors that are countering the current economic conditions. Job creation is robust. That job report came out, and the highlighted section, and I apologize for my kind of scribbly way over highlighting. I let freehand just do it in one of the tools when I'm cut and pasting these. So as of June, there were 5.9 million workers searching for jobs and over 10 million job openings. According to that Fed job report, basically we're back to 2019 levels as far as employment is concerned. So the jobs are out there. We just need to make sure that everybody is ready to buy a home. Another really, really positive is that commercial real estate is growing. COVID hit commercial real estate particularly hard. And it looks like now, if you read further into that article, you've got companies who are looking for warehouse space because they're trying to stockpile on supply so they don't get impacted as much by any supply chain issues. Hotel bookings, air travel, park attendance are now above pre-pandemic levels. That is a huge positive. And then also the fact that they're looking for new commercial construction. Very, very positive news. Another conversation, so another article from Realtor Magazine. So mortgage rates dip below 5%. Buyers get a second chance opportunity. Again, this is great news. We're getting closer to boring and balanced. And we knew that when that interest rate, when conversations were about interest rates being over 6%, obviously the buyers just went scattering to the hills and decided, oh my gosh, I'm just not even, I can't do it. I can't afford to pay what that mortgage is going to look like every month. The fact that those are coming down below 5%, and we're seeing it as real estate agents working in our communities, in our neighborhoods, working with buyers and sellers, we're absolutely seeing that. So the average monthly mortgage payment has fallen 12% in just 2 months as high borrowing costs moderate, says NAR chief economist. So I love this as well. After weeks of escalating borrowing costs, home buyers are getting a second chance to lock in lower rates. And the big news, the 30-year fixed rate mortgage fell to an average just below 5%. And depending on what your financial picture looks like, we're working with buyers at the moment. Our buyers are looking closer at the 4.5%, and we'll have a look at what our local lenders are telling us a little further along. But that is huge. And as a result, applications for a home purchase increased 1% last week. And that's what my local lenders have been telling me, that the buyers who got the shocker stick, shock. It's Monday. When they saw what that monthly repayment was going to be, when those rates first rocketed up to 6%, which again, historically not that high, obviously they said no. But now they're back. They're absolutely back. And I have buyers who, they've just been pre-approved, and they were pleasantly surprised by the rate when that came back, and they shopped around. So they really got good deals for their home purchasing experience. So again, these are just the official numbers from Freddie Mac. 30-year fixed rate, average 4.99. 15-year fixed rate, 4.26. 5-year hybrid adjustable rate mortgage, average 4.25. So these are good. And 5-year ARMs are averaging 2.4. Of course, if an adjustable rate mortgage is something you're interested in, reach in. We'd love to connect you to a mortgage specialist who can really explain whether will help you understand what an ARM actually means and whether this is a good product for you to consider. It's definitely a way some of our buyers are getting into the market now. But this is all good news. Another first, which was really good this past week, housing market hits another first we haven't seen in 2 long years. Anybody got any guesses as to what that might be? Time on market. And I know one day doesn't look like that's a massive improvement, but remember, speed of the market is all an indication, again, of that supply and demand. If we're slowly inching up in days on market, that is truly one of those indications of whether we're getting to balanced and boring, which is where we want to be. Okay, for the week ending July 30th, so of course these are national reports, so they're a couple of weeks behind. The most noteworthy shift involves how long homes are taking to sell, with properties lingering on the market one day more than they did the same week last year. While one extra day might not seem very much, it's a pivotal turning point after 2 straight years of buyers watching this window of opportunity grow smaller and smaller week after week. So that is a positive. I mean, we're really seeing a lot of positives as far as getting back to a more, I don't know, I hesitate to say normal market, but one that's a little more favorable towards buyers as well as sellers. That article continues with home price growth is slowing. Now, even though we have reached a median home price nationwide record of 450,000. Of course, in Southern California, we wish that was our medium. If you're a buyer, it's not. But again, it's slowed down because last year, so we're sitting at 15.6% over last year. And before that, it was for the previous 2 weeks, it was 16.6%. So that's slowing down. Again, everything is slowly returning to where we need to be. So you've got increasing inventory, you've got rates that are lowering, you've got prices. Now, these are list prices, not values. So list prices are slowly adjusting. This is all good news so that we are actually getting to a healthier market. Fewer homes are going up for sale. And yeah, so this is something we're going to talk about in a little more detail when we look locally, because this is really, really relevant. It's all about the price cuts. Because new listings we've kind of peaked nationally, it looks like. So we're not getting as many homes on the market. So there are sellers who are saying, well, I'm just not going to put my house on the market because I've missed the peak. Well, the buyers are out there. We've just talked about how the buyers are back. So it depends on the seller's motivation. If they have a desire and a need to sell, then now is the time, because the buyers are actively back and they're shopping. And we have an offer that is in negotiation right now. We're waiting to hear back from the sellers this afternoon to see if our buyer's offer has been accepted or is going to be countered by some sellers locally. But what we are starting to see that there are price reductions, overpriced properties, because sellers still think that we're in an extremely hot seller's market, which we are not. They're overpriced now. And because of that, they're having to do price reductions to keep buyers engaged, because engaged buyers know what's going on in the market. They know how many days a property has been there. They understand the history of that property. And if it's overpriced and it's been on the market a long time, the immediate mental reaction is, oh, there's a red flag about this property. And sometimes that red flag is purely price. It's got nothing to do with the location or the condition. So we'll talk about that in a little more detail. So one really important thing to keep in mind, and this was a slide that a local economist, Stephen Thomas, included in his update last Thursday, and we're going to share some more of his slides when we talk about Southern California specifically. I think one thing that we've got to understand, that we are not alone in the US when it comes to inflation. This just helps us understand that this is truly a global situation where consumer prices are absolutely up across the globe. And what happens globally obviously impacts us here at home. So just kind of keep everything in perspective. It's not just a US thing that we're dealing with. Many reasons for that. And again, we're not going to go into those details. So Southern California, what is going on down here? It's getting towards the end of summer. We know that most of those summer camps are coming to an end. And if school hasn't already started, it's going to be starting within the next week or two. So dog days of summer for our kids, but it's hot. It's beautiful on the beaches. What is going on? Let's look at interest rates. So we're going to look at a couple of our lenders. And so this was an update from United American on Friday. So as you can see, we've got rates that are basically sitting, around about that 5%. Some of them are a little higher depending on the loan amount. So let's go on to the next one. This is from Mortgage Grader, where he always gives us the Freddie Mac rate, and then he has a look at how this compares. A borrower gets an average 30-year fixed rate on a conforming 647,000 odd loan. Last year's payment was 821, less than this week's payment. And that has gone down. So if you go back and you compare this to this information that I try and include every week, you'll see that that amount has come down. So you're not having to pay as much because the rates are adjusting. What he sees, and this is what my buyers are seeing, they did not choose to go with this lender. They have a different one. But the two lenders that they shopped around with, 4.5% is basically what they were quoted by two different very reputable lenders based on their financial situation. So not bad, and they were pleasantly surprised by that. And of course, there's always those unusual, okay, there could be an amazing deal out there. It really depends on your financial situation. I'll apologize, I did not grab an update from this morning. It's been a busy morning, but I know that Wells Fargo is also very competitive with their rates. So the economist that I referenced earlier, Stephen Thomas, has 30 years of analytical data. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. He really helps us stay on track with what's happening in Southern California. And then we use that and we compare it to what's happening locally. So in his housing debrief, which you can grab him, he's on YouTube, he's on Facebook. He does an update normally every Thursday around about 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Anybody can access that information. So these are just a couple of slides from that presentation. Big one, recession doesn't equal a housing crisis. And this he got from Keeping Current Matters, this slide. And I think this is a huge reminder for us to keep everything in perspective. While a recession can impact us in many, many different ways, it does not necessarily mean that we're going to end up in a housing crisis. And you can see when we did, so 2008 and 1991. And remember, in 2008, it was because there was a lending crisis. Lenders were basically letting people borrow money who really had no right to that money in the first place. 2020, when we had a recession, that actually housing really wasn't impacted that much. And so the anticipation is from NAR, our National Association of Realtors Economists, Stephen Thomas, Logan Matashami. No one is really predicting. Now, of course, nobody has a crystal ball. This is all based on their models and the analysis and really looking at everything from a very large lens. They don't anticipate that we will see anything like this happening. Of course, time will tell. But again, stay positive, because a recession is not necessarily a bad thing for housing. What does tend to happen is that interest rates go down when we hit a recession. So all of these are when we had a recession, and you can see how every single time interest rates went down. So we're kind of, we're right over here. We're doing some really funky stuff, doing our little Amalfi Coast, or the road to, Hana in Hawaii. If anybody's been there, on Maui, it's that same thing. We're kind of doing the twists and turns, but we definitely have already seen those interest rates come down. The fact that we're sitting below 5% right now is direct correlation to what is happening with the economy on a federal level. So again, it's not negative news. It's actually positive for housing. That's all I'm going to comment on. I'm not commenting about any other parts of how we are definitely seeing the impact of inflation and either yes or no to a recession. Where are we as far as our inventory is concerned? So we are sitting right over here. The purple line is 2019, so we're still below where we were before the pandemic, which is creating part of our situation, supply and demand. So you can see where we are. So we've had a small rise, but the concern is that it looks like we're going to be leveling off. Now, Part of this is seasonal because, as I mentioned, it's the end of summer. Most families, if they were going to move and they wanted to move so that they were there before their children started school, they're either in escrow already about to close on their properties, or they've already made the move. So the buyers have kind of moved, and sellers are saying, well, because I think that the buyers are all gone, I'm just not going to put my house on the market, which is yes, demand is down, but it's not gone. The buyers are still there. So we still need a lot more inventory. That's what's driving the creating the stability, if I can put it that way. So if we have a look at it in comparison to the interest rates, as I say, we're on this very interesting roller coaster with our interest rates in the orange this year, and that's where our inventory is. This is where we were in 2013 when we had a big interest rate climb, and then what happened to the inventory. So we're kind of, we would have hoped to have had inventory up at the top here, but we just haven't. We are really still trending below where we need to be for our balanced market. Price reductions. This is something that I really wanted to talk about in more detail. So buyers, as I mentioned, are knowledgeable. Most buyers, for the most part, those buyers know the value of working with a real estate professional who can help them strategize and help them get a winning offer submitted. Of course, it depends on the number of offers, but they're seeing that there are a lot of price reductions happening because buyers are no longer willing to go way over that list price because they don't have to. There are some more choices out there. So this gives you an idea of where we're sitting as far as each county and how many of those properties are seeing price reductions. So what I wanted to do here is I wanted to share with you, now excuse, this was a very quick piece of data that I pulled actually for my buyers. They're looking in one particular neighborhood, amongst others, but this one, and they were considering the price that they wanted to present in their offer. Not going to tell you the name of the community, and I'm not going to put the addresses in, but it was basically looking at 5-bedroom homes. And so we pulled how many of those homes that are currently active on the market. So these are all active properties right now. And we wanted to see how many of them have seen price reductions. As you can see, out of our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 properties, 5 of them have seen a price reduction. Obviously, the amount of that reduction is very much related to the price point, but the minimum price reduction is $51,000. You can see by the days on market that as it goes up, that they're starting to think about, well, and some of these may have had more than one price reduction. I just basically looked at original list price, current price on the market, and what that difference is. This one over here has not had a price reduction yet, and I would anticipate that with being on the market, this was as of yesterday, if it's been on the market for 25 days and there are no offers, then that's a conversation that the sellers need to be having and decide whether they want to stay competitive in the market and do that price reduction or not. This one right at the top actually has been on the market. So today it's 5 days, and looking at the details of their property, it looks like they actually went onto the market at a competitive price. So by the next couple of days, we'll see if they get the offers in or not. But this is a huge indication. This is what buyers have access to. So if sellers, if you're sort of thinking, goes back to that question, should I build in that buffer? I don't know. Do you want to risk the days on market really stacking up, because we know that that's just basically saying, oh, forget it, I'm not going to get a high sales price. So just keep that in mind, that when agents are working with buyers, we're pulling this data for them, each neighborhood that they're looking at, the street, the city, the community, to make sure that they're fully aware of what is going on in the market. Giving them the information, then it is up to the buyers to decide what that offer price should be. But based on this, why would they go over asking unless that home met every single one of their criteria? But know that this was just one little neighborhood. And there are lots of other homes on the market that they've looked at, and they have a short list. Just one of these properties may be the one that they want to offer on. It may not be. Okay, so let's talk about that demand. So the demand has gone up, and part of that is because the interest rates have come down. The buyers are back. They're looking, they're discerning, they are enjoying the fact that they've got more than one property to actually look at, that they actually have more than 15 minutes of viewing time to decide whether they're going to submit an offer or not even see the property and have to submit an offer way over asking price. The buyers are so grateful that they have a little more time and they have more choices, and those interest rates are moving more in their favor. So our demand year over year, so Stephen Thomas is predicting that it'll keep increasing a little bit, and then we will see that decline. As we know, and I mentioned this to someone last night, I think it's crazy in the US. It seems like the minute we start talking about Halloween, so we get to that October timeframe, we're in holiday, the holidays mode, and we're more concerned about that than anything else. And we see that every single year. You can see that right over here, that the demand goes down. Nobody wants to move over the holidays. Families are settled into school. They don't want to move their kids, and they just don't want to have disruption. Sellers don't want this disruption in their lives. So that demand is going to go down. So where are we as far as our expected market time year over year? So this is just that reminder again that what we're aiming for is 90 to 120 days to get our balanced, boring market. And we were definitely heading up there. And then those interest rates came down, and now we're kind of steady. We thought we were going to get to beyond the 2019 numbers and get a little closer to that balanced market, but no. And I think it's sitting at about 77 days is the average days on market right now. But again, so important to look locally. So a reminder, 90 to 120 days for a balanced market. So where are we on our 4 major city areas that we're focusing on? Dana Point, slight sellers market. Median days on market, 39. Where do we want to try and get to? 90. We don't have the inventory yet to be able to get to that point. Demand is still there. Coastal community, that little ocean that we have out there, or that big ocean, is definitely a moderating factor, because who doesn't want to live near the ocean? It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Where are we in Laguna Beach? Laguna Beach, slight sellers market still. Days, median days on market, 56, definitely a higher price point area. So it normally takes a little longer because you don't have as many buyers in that buyer pool, but still a strong market. San Clemente, strong sellers market, median days on market, 39. And again, this is this price point where everyone is basically, our buyer demand is sitting in that $1 to $2 million sort of price range. That's their budget. And there are a few more properties on the market, but there aren't as many as will meet the demand. So still a great time for a seller to sell, providing you actually price your property correctly. San Juan Capistrano, median days on market, 32. Also strong sellers market. Again, their median price of new listings, 1.7. Again, most of our buyers are between that $1 and $2 million price range, and we just don't have enough inventory, but properties that are there, that are priced well, are selling. So bottom line, back to our questions. If I'm a buyer, will I have to offer way over list price and waive all the contingencies? This is going to depend on looking at the property that is the one that you want to place an offer on. Is it the dream property that checks every single box that you have? Is there a lot of interest in that property? And is it priced according to the market? If it's been sitting for a while, then you're probably not going to have to offer way over the list price. You really want to have a look at what's happening in the market. But truly, your agent, if you're using an agent, on which we hope you would be, to represent you on the buyer side, should be in really close communication with the listing agent. And that buyer's agent needs to truly understand what is going on in the market, pulling those numbers, looking at price reductions, yes, we look at the solds because we've got to look at that from a comp point of view, but really look at what's in escrow now, what's on the market, what is the competition, and then you're going to be able to tell. Are you going to have to waive all contingencies? I am seeing more and more requests for termite. I'm seeing more and more offers that do not have appraisal waived. They do not have inspection waived. Now, sellers are still looking for a tighter time frame. So our standard California contract is 17 days for an inspection. Most sellers are going to want to see 7 to 10 days. Still very doable because our home inspectors don't have as many inspections that they have to get through as they did when we had more inventory and it was a crazy market. So you're probably not going to have to waive your contingencies, but every property needs to be analyzed very carefully, and then look at all the information that's provided to you, and then you make the decision, because ultimately you as the buyers are going to have to decide, is it worth risking not being able to have that home? What does that truly mean for you if you do not win an offer on that property? Or what if the sellers are still 2 to 3 months ago mentally, where they still think this is an insane seller's market where they can just demand the moon and the stars? They may not be ready and they may not be where you are. So then you have to make that decision. Sellers, I'm a seller and I want to add a cushion to my list price. Is this a good idea? If you are motivated to sell, my response to you is going to be, you need to list at market value based on what's currently going on in the market, and that's truly changing on a week-by-week basis. So again, hire the right agent to make sure that you are getting the correct information updated at least once a week, depending on the activity in your community, so that you can make the right decision. Adding a buffer is basically really going to encourage days on market to keep going up, and that is never in your favor. So again, this is what I included last week, and I'm going to read this again. Sellers, carefully arriving at the fair market value by scrutinizing the most recent, comparable, and pending sales is essential to be successful. Meticulously taking into consideration the condition, location, and amenities, and I'm going to add into that the time of year, because we know some communities slow faster than others as we get into the back to school season. Buyers, while the market is slower than the start of the year, it is not a buyer's market where values are going down. Values are not going down. List prices are adjusting if the property has been lingering and languishing on the market because it's now overpriced. It may not have been overpriced when it first hit the market, but boy, that change happens so quickly, and some sellers are still left behind. So no, there are no bargains. We have, our team has someone we met over the weekend at an open house, and they're looking for a bargain. Good luck with that. Not in this market. It is not a buyer's market. So sellers, price ahead of the market, condition and location are going to determine the price. Days on market stacking up is the kiss of death to achieving a top sales price. Absolutely. Staging is important. Buyers have more choices now when they walk into their property. Or no, forget that. Before they even walk into the property, if they're looking online, which the majority of our buyers are, they need to be able to visualize that they can live in that property. It needs to pique their interest enough so they're actually interested in coming to the front door, walking through and experiencing that home. And we know that's when that connection happens. So you've got to make sure that the home looks like it's a brand new, absolutely amazing home, even when the majority of our homes are resale. We're in the autumn market, so we know that demand is going to keep going down. Inventory, actually, Stephen Thomas is now predicting that we are going to peak, even though normally we peak in the sort of spring going into summer, that we're going to peak during August sometime, and then we're just going to see a decline in inventory. Buyers, again, know your budget, really get your financial ducks in a row. Spend time with your financial advisor, with a loan professional if you need to take out a mortgage, and really understand what that payment is going to look like. Work with somebody who can help you understand the market, what's happening today, what the trends are looking like for the future, as much as we can look in the non-existent crystal ball. Have a strategy. Don't put all your sort of eggs into one basket. You may still not get that dream home that you saw, because there are other buyers looking at the same thing. Bottom line, we really encourage you, hire a real estate consultant like myself or one of the members on my team. We would be so honored to assist you through this journey. Make sure you have the right information so that you can experience home ownership or the sale of your home with the least amount of stress, according to your budget and within your time frame. So we are always here to help you, and thank you so much for tuning in. If you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. We are absolutely passionate about empowering you with the right knowledge and information so you can make the right decision for you. Have a fantastic week.